All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern, which means it's time for another episode of Unapologetic with Chet and Duffy. I'm your host, Chet, and as always, right there to my right, have to unmute him real quick so he can actually speak to you all, is Duffy. Duffy.
What? Oh, I was muted?
Yeah, I muted you because during that intro before we went live, your mic was still hot for some reason, so I just muted you real quick.
Thank you.
Because you were saying some pretty interesting things beforehand that I'm sure our audience wouldn't want to hear on the live broadcast per se.
Whoops. Chet, good to be back.
You gotta watch that mouth of yours.
Yeah, good to be back, though, my friend.
Yeah.
And sorry about that, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
well, I guess that's your intro. You know,
glitching so hard, dude.
Yeah, I can see that. You're kind of lagging a little bit on my end.
My computer's just glitching so hard.
Oh well, well you seem pretty stable now. So whatever. We're gonna hop right into our current topics throughout the league while Duffy adjusts his computer real quick. But hopping right into it, we're gonna talk about conference championship weekend to start. Honestly, this was probably one of the best conference championship weekends we've had in recent memory because you didn't see the old familiars going to the Super Bowl on both AFC and NFC sides of the playoff picture. Cincinnati Bengals marched into the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead and managed to take them down with a final score of 27-24 in overtime. A thrilling game, to say the least. And then same with that Niners-Rams game, final score finishing off at 20-17. Kind of to put it in big picture, Duffy, obviously for me and you, seeing the Patriots, the Chiefs, and all of these juggernaut teams really returning to the Super Bowl year in and year out. Yeah. What is this feeling right now?
All right, honestly, I think 2021, I'm just relocating because my shit was really pissing me off. Sorry. 2021, I mean, we saw in the NBA earlier this year with the Milwaukee Bucks and Phoenix Suns making surprising runs to the finals. And I guess to the NFL. And I think with the NFL, there's a lot more parity than other leagues. But we have seen, like you said, for a long time, two teams really dominate the AFC. That's been New England and KC the last 6 years. 6+ years, actually. And to see Joe Burrow and the Bengals, first time in 33 years this team has made a Super Bowl. It's incredible. And it really is it's just awesome. And for the Rams, too, these teams have won a Super Bowl in our lifetime. The Rams only have one ring still from the Kurt Warner era. And so this is going to be really monumental game to watch. I think it's going to be of historical implications because first time in I think maybe ever that two number one overall picks meeting in the Super Bowl. Two guys who have a lot to prove, and this will be huge. It's going to be a huge game for each of their careers.
Yeah, for Matthew Stafford and Joe Burrow, it's a dream come true. But we'll take a look right now into the AFC Conference Championship game, kind of give you guys a big picture of the way that game looked like. Going into half, the score is 21-10. And at that point of the game, most people were kind of wondering just before those final 2 minutes approached and that Chiefs final drive before the half, it was kind of a question of, is this going to be a blowout conference championship game? And ladies and gentlemen, before we really hop into more of the discussion, we want to welcome our special guest who's been on the show several times in the last couple of weeks, but we love having him on. So once again, Zach Drapo here on the show, ladies and gentlemen.
What's going on, guys?
Oh, not much. We're just talking right now about... What's that?
I'm trying to do this on my phone, dude. This shit's so laggy. I'm sorry.
Got you. Okay. Do what you got to do. Anyways, so kind of looking at the way that game was progressing here in the conference championship game, before that Chiefs final drive that the Bengals managed to stop in the red zone before time expired, it looked like a blowout based on the score differential being 21-10. And seeing that confidence that the Bengals gained defensively, it really showed up in the second half where they managed to tie things up and send it to overtime.
Yeah, and especially like you said, the defensive momentum they gained. Beginning the second half, you're down 21-10. The Chiefs got the ball first, second half, and we saw 2 back-to-back crucial punts. I think both were 3-and-outs actually by the Chiefs, forced by the Bengals defense, for a defense that's struggled as much as they have for a lot of the year. Against the Chiefs, they looked terrible in the first half. And to come out and do that, even when the offense was stagnant too, we saw the Bengals defense bail out Burrow a couple times, throwing that pick in the fourth quarter in a tied game. Burrow didn't play his best game. He played a really solid game, good enough to win. But that Bengals defense deserves a lot more credit, because down the stretch, last 31 minutes here, they outscored the Chiefs 24-3. And when you allow 3 points to a second half Patrick Mahomes led team, and you don't let them score to the last 2 minutes of the game for an entire half, that's a win in itself. So Bengals defense, this was definitely the momentum they needed going into the Super Bowl against a really good Rams team. And they have the feeling right now that if we can beat the Chiefs, we can beat anybody. So this Super Bowl, I mean, right now I think it's like Rams -4.5. They are the home team too. Keep that in mind, but. Bengals are going to keep this close for a long time. They should, on saying that they are one hell of a competitive team.
And a defensive player that you really have to commend in that conference championship game is defensive end Trey Hendrickson, coming over from the New Orleans Saints, signing a four-year, $60 million deal, had 1.5 sacks on Patrick Mahomes in last week's game, and he was really a big spearhead. Him, Von Bell, and Awuzie, all those guys on the defensive side of the ball stepped up in the biggest moment, and because of those big plays they made in the second half is what propelled Cincinnati into a Super Bowl berth.
It's crazy that the Bengals defense is really what's been carrying them. I don't want to say carrying them because their offense has been on point for, every game that they've played, but their defense has stepped up in such a way that I would have never imagined for this specific team. I remember I was on here last week, and I don't know if I cost Duffy his bets, but I'm pretty sure I made an argument for the Chiefs over the Bengals that he might have skewed his opinion on.
Probably.
And the basis
I had the Chiefs winning that game. I didn't. No, Zach, I actually did stick with Bengals +7. By the way, I did stick.
All right,
with
good.
It.
I did too. I didn't have them straight up.
Because you never know.
Sunday. I lost so many units.
Mm-hmm. I did pretty decent this week. I didn't hit all my bets for football, but I did have Bengals +7, and I did have Rams -2.5. I want to say they were. So I was all right. I didn't expect the Bengals to have the second half that they did, and I certainly didn't expect the Chiefs to stall the way they did in the second half. I think it's crazy that the Chiefs are now, the last 2 years, I mean, they had a tougher opponent last year in Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl, but now they've stalled again on offense. If you remember, last year they didn't even score a touchdown in the Super Bowl. And now this past weekend, they didn't score a touchdown in the second half and more, I think, in the last 21 minutes of plus overtime. So it's really 28 minutes or 27 in the end of the game. And that falls on Pat Mahomes and it falls on Andy Reid. And they're going to be back, but they choked, and I did not expect them to against that Bengals defense.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's a great point you made about the Chiefs just struggling on offense in the playoffs. Because we look at all 3 of Mahomes' playoff losses in his career, and the one that you didn't mention there was the 2018 AFC Championship. You remember that game? The Chiefs didn't even score in the first half. They were down 14-0 at halftime. They scored, I think, 24 points in the fourth quarter and still lose.
Yeah,
and so it was something like that. I think it was 31.5 at least for somebody that had in the game. But I mean, dude, Patrick Mahomes, he turns up when he can. I never doubt him in the 2-minute drill to tie or win the game. When they had a 1st and goal at the 5-yard line, down 24-21, I thought the game was over. I said this thing's over. Chiefs going Super Bowl again. But like you said, Chet, Trey Hendrickson, that Bengals defense came up big, got a big sack on Mahomes. And another sack too on that strip sack that they almost.
And I also forgot to commend Sam Hubbard, who had 2 sacks for that defensive unit.
And I'm pretty sure. Said today?
No, I didn't. What did he say?
He said they're winning the Super Bowl for Harambe.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah, because he was from the Cincinnati Zoo.
Hey, I'm joining on my phone because it's way too laggy right here. Okay.
Got you. Go ahead and make the switch.
Coming in right now.
Really. looking at the Chiefs' stat line from this game, Patrick Mahomes, 275 on the day for 3 touchdowns, threw 2 interceptions in the affair, and was sacked 4 times by the Bengals defensive unit. Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and McCole Hardman, the top targets on the day. But when you look at the Bengals, T. Higgins, 6 catches, 103 yards on 10 targets. He really was the man that really propelled these Cincinnati Bengals into the spot they were in. He came up in the biggest of moments, and it really proved that the Cincinnati Bengals not only are going to be a team that's going to be competitive in this postseason, that they're going to be competitive in future postseasons to come. This could be a new rivalry we see spew between the Bengals, the Bills, and the Chiefs. This game brought a lot of future implications, but to keep it homed in for now, looking at the Chiefs and how they've played in the playoffs in recent memory, what does this say about them going forward? Is their timetable really getting slimmer? Is this so-called dynasty that they are trying to establish even going to be possible?
Listen, I mean, as long as they have Patrick Mahomes, this dynasty is absolutely alive and possible. I mean, this team that's made four straight AFC championships, all of which have been at home. Sure, they got a lot of help along the way, but the Ravens losing in 2018, the Titans losing this year, but they're able to get 4 in a row at home. But at the end of the day, I mean, Patrick Mahomes is a different animal. He's probably the best quarterback I've ever seen in my life. When it comes to just sheer talent, I don't think it's even close. I think Patrick Mahomes is the most talented quarterback ever.
Aaron Rodgers? Peyton Manning?
Dude, I mean...
Tom Brady?
Oh, no. Talent-wise, Brady isn't up there.
Athletic-wise, throwing the ball off different angles, doing stuff I've never seen before, and just being clutch, winning games when it all factors into each other. I think Mahomes... with the exception of Brady, obviously, I think he's going to be right up there. I think he's going to be at least the second best quarterback of all time by the time he's done. And
I like that take.
I think as long as they have this core of Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, I'm sure Kelsey's probably like 30 right now. He's going to get older.
I think Kelsey's 32. I think 32. Kelsey's actually coming to the end of his deal.
Yeah. But think about it like this. And same thing with Tom Brady. We saw it some years in New England. As long as the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes, they're going to win a lot of football games.
Yeah.
He's going to be a 12-win team every year. So, yeah, this dynasty is definitely possible.
I like what Chet had actually said, though, about the dynasty. The window is definitely getting smaller, though. You want, if you're the Chiefs, to capitalize on the fact that Mahomes' deal, while as huge as it is, it's only going to get bigger. And for right now, you have the little amount of cap space to keep the people extra on the team that you wouldn't really think about as the key players. Now, star players like Tyrann Mathieu, like Travis Kelce, who is going to be coming up in negotiations, and that's going to be a huge thing in the next offseason or two. People like Tyrann Mathieu, people like Chris Jones that aren't on the forefront of their star players, but people that are nonetheless one of the bigger reasons that they do have such a well-rounded roster. The Chiefs are going to be fine. The Chiefs are going to be in the playoffs every single year. They should be winning that division just about every year. Justin Herbert might have something to say about that, but for right now, the Chiefs are the team. I think that they're going to be in the AFC Championship. It was 4 years in a row this year. I can see them going 8 years in a row. I really can. But Mahomes is going to have to deliver on the biggest stage, and we saw him do that in his first 2 years, and we automatically assumed, like, he's the guy. He's the next Brady. I think we need to take a little bit of a step back and realize that this is a 25-year-old kid, and he's still getting better. And when you have people like Andy Reid and you have Tyreek Hill that they're going to keep around him, and rookies like Clyde Edwards-Helaire to help him out, in a decent O-line, he's going to be around, but the time to win is definitely now. And if they can't do it in the next 2-3 years or so, they're going to run into some problems.
Chet, I also love that point you made earlier, where kind of like what Zach was saying too, with like all this talent in the AFC now, like with the Chiefs and the Bills. Everyone was saying after that playoff game last week, Mahomes, Allen is the new Brady, Manning is the new best rival in the AFC. But with the Bengals winning on Sunday, I mean, it's going to really be the big three in the AFC for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and then you can also count out teams like the Baltimore Ravens, who are riddled with injuries this year, the Tennessee Titans, who will definitely have some upgrades, potentially a new quarterback coming this offseason, you never know. Even the Denver Broncos. There are still several teams in this league that can compete with these teams, but obviously it's going to be a uphill battle. But to keep it grounded with the Chiefs right now and kind of building off of Zach's points, when you look at these contracts between Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, and now even Joe Tooney. Joe Tooney signed a 5-year, $80 million deal. Kelce and Hill each have $50 million deals on the table. And then you have Mahomes' big, fat $500 million deal. It's like, where's the cap space going? Is Mahomes going to have to take salary cuts as they go on? Because chances are, to keep guys like this that are this talented and this is your core going forward, like, hey, keep the superstars. I get it. They produce, they prove it every year that they're going to keep doing that. But they're going to age, and eventually you're going to be looking for the next guy to take up that role. And for me, the window is closing, and closing quicker than most people realize. Because, I mean, honestly, the Chiefs' offense this season was not as spectacular as last season. They were great this year, trust me, but we're starting to see a trend that's slowly going to happen, and it's going to hit people before they know it. As long as Mahomes is with the Chiefs, I absolutely agree. They're 100% going to win, but keeping guys like Kelce and Hill around are crucial, especially once those guys age out, because you need guys either from the future draft or from free agency that you know are going to come to the team and produce going forward. So for me, it's Chiefs are kind of entering a mode right now where they can be a little comfortable, but they need to be a little on edge going forward into the years that come with the franchise, because these guys won't produce forever. Nothing ever good lasts forever.
Listen, the thing is with the Chiefs, and I'll say it again, Mahomes has the same gene as Brady. We saw Brady play a season with Aaron Dobson as his receiver too, and still went 12-4. And Edelman, that year, his first year as a receiver, never went over like 500 yards before that. Made him a 1,000-yard receiver, 100-catch player. Mahomes is the same gene. You can give him shit off the street. He's going to be a 12-win quarterback the rest of his career. 10, 11, 12 wins. That division is theirs for a long time. And maybe I'm overreacting to what I think is overreaction by you. But I just honestly this AFC West obviously is much of an animal than the AFC East for all those years. And you got Justin Herbert in that division. You got the Denver Broncos who are a quarterback away from being a good team. The Raiders are going to suck next year with McDaniels as their head coach. I actually want to ask Zach about that later as a Colts fan. What he thinks about McDaniels going to Vegas. But,
honestly, I take Frank Reich over Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, I would take Frank Reich too.
No question. Oh my God.
It was definitely a blessing in disguise for Zach.
Despite everything that the Colts went through, even at the end of their season, losing to Jacksonville, they should have been in the postseason. Hands down, that team should have been there. As much as I laughed at it, it's like that team deserved a piece of the pie, but because they lost that game, all bets were off.
No comment.
I wish the wild card teams were New England, Chargers, and Indy instead of
I
Raiders
agree with that.
Would have been an amazing. Postseason.
But Week 18 was phenomenal. So
it was
phenomenal. But
can I step in real quick to just get on the one last thing about the Chiefs dynasty? I think you're both kind of on opposite sides, which is great to see. Because I think you're both right, but I think you're both wrong, if that makes sense a little bit.
Okay.
I think that one thing, Duffy, that I would have to disagree with a little bit is that I don't think anybody has the Tom Brady gene, first of all, as much as I hate to say that. Tom Brady is 1 in a million, in fact, that he's going to put in the work despite everybody else kind of as an FU to everybody else. I don't think Pat Mahomes is there yet. And I also don't think we've seen Pat Mahomes without the weapons that he has. Maybe in a couple years when he just has Tyreek. And sure, he made stars out of Byron Pringle and McCole Hardman, but in that offense, you're looking for that quick, speedy slant guy anyway, like a Tyreek Hill.
Dude, so I think, thing, I mean, I also want to say, I think Peyton Manning has the same gene also. I think the gene isn't just Brady's. I think it's just for great players. I think with a guy like Brady and Manning, I think a lot of it is just, commitment and practice and film study. But with Mahomes, I think it's just primarily just his athletic gifts. So
I would say that Mahomes' athletic and his arm strength surpasses anything I've seen from Brady, and besides the arms, not even the arm strength, and Manning. I think that him and Rodgers and maybe Dan Marino are the 3 most talented throwers of a football I've ever seen. Granted, I didn't see Marino in the day. But
those clips,
I think
you're still like, damn, watching those little clips. You're like, this dude can slip it, you know?
Oh yeah, he totally can. But I think we just need to give it time. I think we can speculate as much as we want about Mahomes' career in the future, but this guy's on his 5th year. And not only that, he's surrounded in a really good organization with people that are going to take care of him, we believe, and a head coach that is offensive-minded genius in Andy Reid. He's going to be all right. I don't know if he's going to be the 50-touchdown MVP, superstar of the league every single year, but he's going to be damn well close.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy he hasn't won one since an MVP.
I know.
So, Bengals defeat the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead 27-24 in a thrilling game that went into overtime. The Bengals are now the AFC champions of the AFC conference that will be representing in the Super Bowl. Now to check in on our NFC championship matchup that was between the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. This game was a tight one throughout. The Rams managed to edge out the Niners 20-17. However, going into half, the Niners led the Rams 10-7. And both teams looked like they were playing a pretty defensive matchup for the most part. Stafford had a pick early on in that game. Even Jimmy G didn't look the sharpest, and he really didn't look sharp throughout most of that game. However, the Niners still managed to hang on, but the Rams defense stepped up when it mattered most and allowed Matt Stafford enough room to propel them to a victory and move on. So, guys, what are our thoughts from this game? Because it was actually a pretty good one at the end of the day.
Well, admittedly, this was game 2, so I was pretty out of it for this one. But, I watched the highlights the next day. It was a good game. Like we were saying last week, and I think me and you both picked the Rams. I think Zach might have too. But it's so tough to beat a team 3 times in a year, especially against a coach like Sean McVay. Stepped up big. That defense stepped up really big, too. The Rams defense getting down 17-7 late in the third quarter. I thought the game was almost over. This is going to be the same story again.
Yeah.
But then, Rams got a little bit lucky. Trubisky dropped the interception.
Huge drop pick.
Big drop.
Catches that. Or maybe not won the game, but it would put them in considerably better position. And but the Rams, they just made plays when they needed to in the fourth quarter. And it's kind of what it came down to, is all their star power, all the big names they have, all the big type of plays they're able to make. Really come together in those last 15 minutes. That's why they won the game on Sunday, because they just closed out the game better than the Niners could. Yeah, they deserve to win that game.
I think you're dead on with the star players. We've seen that the NBA has become, you need 3 stars to win. I think the Rams are trying to make that mantra possible in the NFL. Granted, we have seen super teams in the NFL win before, but You can't even count on both hands the amount of future Hall of Famers the Rams have on their roster right now. It's pretty ridiculous. And the fact
we got Von Miller, Stafford if he wins this game.
Either way, I think Stafford's Hall of Famer, and
Aaron Donald,
because the next 2 years, Joe Ramsey will probably be in the Hall of Fame.
Odell Beckham.
Odell Beckham's on the fringe. He needs a couple more seasons, really, for me to get on his train.
I think
Andrew Whitworth, though, left tackle.
Whitworth will be in the Hall of Fame, yeah. Because if the Rams win this game, it cements pretty much all those players.
Eric Weddle, who had a huge game in the NFC Championship.
I don't think Weddle's getting in. Maybe.
Oh, man.
Get out of here.
Weddle's definitely getting in.
They don't Hall of Fame doesn't like safeties. There's only 8 in the whole Hall of Fame, There's not that many.
Yeah, but the length that he's been one of the top safeties in the league, even from his time in Baltimore, that's definitely a fringe. Okay, so maybe I exaggerated with 10 Hall of Famers, but they at least have 5, and they have a possibility of having 7 or 8. Either way, the reason that they did it was because they don't have a first-round pick till 2024.
Cooper Kupp will be in the Hall of Fame. Sorry, I got to say it.
That's another one. I wasn't going to say because it might be too early.
You only had one great year. I didn't want to interrupt you, though.
Right.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about it. Sorry, Zach.
No, it's all good. But the Rams have such star power that I made this point on one of your guys' podcasts earlier this year, maybe a couple weeks ago, that the Cowboys have a defense that's similar to this, where they have star power and that's it. And as soon as their defense falls off, they're going to lose the game, which is what happened against the 49ers. I called that. But the Rams have star power on both sides of the field. And it's not like it's very unlikely, I should say, that they're going to both not show up to that game, be offense and defense.
Yeah.
And so when they're, if their defense can't hold the team to less than 20 points, their offense is still going to score 30. So it's such a gigantic task for the Bengals to hold the Rams and to outscore the Rams.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to happen. This Rams team is built so well under Sean McVay and their general manager, who I can't think of the name at this point. But I mean, they've done such an amazing job putting this team together, and it really started with this offseason just saying, screw it, we're going to go get Stafford no matter what it is, because that's who we need.
Les Snead, that's his name.
Les Snead, yeah.
Yep.
Who was the general manager when they had it. They brought Jared Goff to a Super Bowl, and Jared Goff was good on the Rams, but I think we can all see now that he was good because of the Rams.
I was defending this man for years, too. I was like, he's a good quarterback. And I would be like,
he's a good quarterback. Yeah, but that's it.
Right? And he sucked before McVay. He sucks without McVay. Right. McVay, I think, has really shown he's the top 3 coach in the league. 2 Super Bowls before the age of, 37? It's crazy.
Huge.
So they also haven't even had Robert Woods all year, too. That's another thing, that this team could be even stronger.
Mm-hmm. I'm telling you what, I think if the Rams win this game, I think that this move for Matthew Stafford, they win the first season with him, I think it goes down as the greatest offseason trade in NFL history.
It's definitely up there. I might have to do a little bit of research to try to...
What would even compare that? I don't even know. Not free agents, off-season trade.
I mean,
off-season trade.
Yeah. I mean, if the Patriots won the Super Bowl the year they got Randy Moss, then I would have said that. But that's
probably the best trade though. It's probably a top 3 or 4 or 5 trade ever.
That
So,
it has to
totally
be
right.
Yeah.
Kind of like what you're saying, Zach. I mean, I just think, like you were saying, with the Bengals trying to outpace the Rams on both sides of the ball. I mean, the Bengals are really outmatched in every position, really.
That's what we said about the Chiefs, though. That's the only thing.
I know, that's the thing.
The Bengals are a surprising team. They really are.
Mm-hmm. They really are.
Yeah.
That
Bengals O-line against this Rams D-line, do you really trust them?
No.
I don't.
Straight up, no.
You mean Bengals O-line versus Rams front
Von
seven?
Miller, Aaron Donald, Michael Brockers are going to have a field day.
Dude, I wish Robert Quinn was still on this team.
Joe Mixon, over-under rushing and receiving yards is 81. I'm taking the under. Just saying.
Under.
I'm taking the over because they're going to need him. They're going to need him in crunch time when they're down.
Oh, you guys should totally do a segment next week just for prop bets. I don't know if that's your thing, but
it is.
You could do that for so long.
We could get into it. I do need to get a little more into the gambling knowledge.
Here's the big one. Heads or tails, guys. Heads or tails.
Tails. Never fails.
I won on heads last year. I'm going to run it back on heads.
Tails. Tails, 100%.
Yeah, listen to this. In the AFC Championship game, when they were going out for the coin toss, my dad goes, I'm calling heads right away. And I'm like, no, tails. And he's like, why? And I'm like, tails never fails. He's like, I never heard that. I'm like, really? Tails never fails?
Your dad's never heard that ever.
And hey, they got tails. And guess what? They won the game.
It was heads, bro.
No,
last year it was heads.
Tails.
At the Super Bowl last year.
No, the Bengals picked heads and they lost the toss. That's right.
Yeah.
You
always go tails.
We didn't even talk about that. Mahomes threw a pick in overtime, pulled the Drew Brees. We didn't even talk about that. That was
after all the talk of the first team to get the ball in overtime, and the Chiefs get it again after Buffalo, and he throws a pick.
And that right there just absolutely.
That crowd
just ended the
conversation. You could hear crickets in that crowd when he threw the pick.
Oh yeah,
painful.
It was painful to look at, and I mean,
but it was good for football. It's
and the way the ball just ended up in, I forget the player who picked it off, but it just ended up so perfectly. Just it's almost like it slipped into his pocket, and he just picked it up and then took it, and it was a beautiful moment. Beautiful moment in sports history right there, ladies and gentlemen. But to keep it grounded with the NFC Championship, we're kind of moving away from the San Francisco 49ers and their performance in this game. Obviously, when we look at it, they played a good game. Hands down, they really did. You have to admit they kept it close. They had a lead on them. They were up 17-7 in the third. So, I mean, even in the fourth. So, I mean, Jimmy G, 232, 2 touchdowns a pick. He was sacked no times in the game, period. The run game struggled so much, though. 26 yards from Deebo Samuel, 20 from Elijah Mitchell. But Deebo did have a good day through the air. He had that long 44-yard touchdown that really put the Niners up, and people in SoFi were getting a little nervous there for a while. But mistakes kept being made. That big pick happened. And then, I mean, really looking at Jimmy G's performance, I think it really told and showed in the second half that that shoulder injury was really bugging him going into it. And, I mean, it just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was an unfortunate.
Jimmy's one of those guys that I don't want to knock the guy because he's a professional athlete and he's a really good quarterback who, like his teammates have been saying, just wins. But it's either he's injury prone or he's just not the toughest guy on the planet, because this has come up a lot over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if he is dealing with a shoulder injury, he definitely played through pain. And in the first half, he played really well through it.
Yeah.
But there comes a time, NFC Championship, season on the line, your tenure with the team that gave you the contract that you've been living off of is on the line. And I don't know. I guess I really shouldn't give him grief for playing through pain or not, but
yeah,
it definitely showed that he was in some sort of situation in the second half. You're right.
Yeah.
And it kind of just was the whole story of the Niners postseason run. You know, Jimmy Garoppolo. So going back to player props, Zach, I actually had $20 on his under passing yards at 223, and Chet just read that 232 number, reminded me all about it. Sucked, lost. He backdoor covered for the over betters, man. But
wow,
Niners, I mean, this is a game they should have won, flat out. And they were up after 3 quarters, outplayed them for the majority of the game, and just kind of collapsed in the fourth quarter. So we look at the future of this team. It's bright. This is definitely going to be one of the best teams in the NFC for the next 10 years, probably. 5-10 years. Maybe not one of the best teams. It depends on how Trey Lance is, because Garoppolo probably on his way out this year. But Trey Lance looks pretty good in the 2 games he played this year, or he started this year. Went 1-1. Close game against the Arizona Cardinals in Week 4, I think it was. Then he beat the Texans in Week 16 or 17. 16, I think it was. But you know, he's going to probably be a good quarterback because he's got a great head coach for the type of style that he likes to play. That's, you know, being a mobile quarterback. And, you know, I think that he's going to really elevate that offense in the future. So I think this NFC West is going to stay really tough. I think Trey Lance is going to add a lot of flavor into that division. Then I got 4 really good teams, and if Russell Wilson stays there, it's going to be an absolute field day who's going to come out of that division next year. So Niners are definitely probably they're going to be the second best odds, or they're going to be the second projected team in the division, because the Rams are going to be favored to win the division. But Niners, they're going to be in it next year. You know, 2 really promising playoff wins. I think this is definitely a good season for them, coming off of this they had last year, where they had a ton of injuries, and they defied all the odds, man. It's just a team that had a lot of fight, and in the stadium that they made the playoffs in Week 18, they just couldn't make the Super Bowl in Week 21, and it's a shame, because that's a game that, you know, Niners fans like my boy Will Reyes, who I probably mention every week on this show. He's going to be thinking about that game for a while, man. Thinking about that game for a while.
I think one thing that I want to add to that, you said that he has a great coach behind him. I think that Kyle Shanahan is a great coach, but I think he's the Aaron Rodgers of coaches. He's phenomenal in the regular season. Phenomenal in the regular season. Yeah. But he's now been a part of the largest Super Bowl comeback ever. He's been a part of the largest fourth quarter Super Bowl comeback ever, and he's been a part of the largest NFC Championship fourth quarter comeback, and he's lost all 3 games. Yeah. And listen, man, you can have the most points per game of any offense ever, which he did in the Falcons. You can take Jimmy Garoppolo to 2 NFC championships and win 1, which is a feat of itself, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But there comes a time that you have to be labeled not clutch, and I think that time has come for Kyle Shanahan. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of goes to show.
I think he came back 5 years ago, though.
That does go to show the Aaron Rodgers track record, because I mean, he going into that Super Bowl against the Patriots, the Falcons blew them out 44-26, I believe, with Kyle Shanahan as the OC.
I was about the game yesterday, dude. They actually destroyed him that game.
Yeah, killed him, and he did the same thing in San Francisco. But, I mean, looking at the Niners, it shows they have the talent. Deebo Samuel has proven he can be a prompt utility back and a great wideout. Brandon Ayuk, amazing. He's good. George Kittle, what can you say about him that's really a negative? And then the defense, that unit, it's so solid. It really is. They're definitely going to bring a lot of power to the NFC and a lot of fight to the West. So, I mean, for the Niners, it's a tough one. Jimmy G likely to be gone. We'll discuss more of that as the show continues on, of where he may go, because as of yesterday, the rumors started to circulate that he will be traded from the San Francisco 49ers. He wants to win and stay with a team that will bring him that competitive nature, but we have yet to see if a competitive team will try and make a run for him. However, I mean, you look at the track record, positive in regular season and postseason. It just comes down to Jimmy G staying healthy. He's definitely a game-managing quarterback, though, to say the least. So we're going to hype.
Just go on the next thing, Chet. My bad.
Yeah, no, you're good. So to put it all together, we're going to give a small hype of what this Super Bowl really brings. I know we've kind of hyped it up already a little bit. But, I mean, a lot on the table right now between both sides. You've got the Bengals, who've got these under 25-year-old offensive players that have just generated some of the best offense we've seen in recent memory out of young guys like this. They've got a solid defensive unit. And then the Rams, juggernaut of the league that most people thought would be in the similar territory like they are now, with that defensive front seven being the best it can be, the secondary being one of the most shut down units, and that offense scoring unbelievable numbers. You got a triple crown wide receiver, a potential future Hall of Fame quarterback that you just traded for. We got a match made in heaven right here, guys. So, I mean, thoughts on the matchup, really, because it's an exciting one.
Yeah, I mean, first time two seeds this low have ever met off in the Super Bowl, so history in itself. A lot of history to be made this game. Youngest coaching match in the Super Bowl ever. McVay and Sean Taylor. First time two number one overall picks in the Super Bowl. Yep. So there's a lot of implications for this game. And I think it's going to be a good one. It's going to be one for the ages. Well, early score prediction, I'm going to say that the Rams win this one. They're going to win it 26-20. I think they're going to low-key cover that spread, too, being at home. Yep. And maybe it goes to overtime. Maybe it's a 23-20. They kick a field goal at the end for some security blanket and cover the spread. But I think the Rams are going to win their second Super Bowl in franchise history. That's my early prediction. So I think they're the best being at home. Ellie doesn't have too many Rams fans, but they know the turf well, and I think that the Rams are going to take care of business at home.
I'm saying this with chest. The Rams are going to blow out the Bengals. I think this is going to be... My early prediction is like 31-17. I think could be even more of a gap. I think the Rams have not traveled away from home leading on the day of the Super Bowl. It'll have been a month that they have not had to leave Los Angeles. I think that's huge. Cincinnati has been traveling these entire playoffs. That's another part of it. Granted, they haven't been going too far. Cincinnati to Tennessee and then Kansas City isn't that bad.
No.
But I think that being at home is huge. I think that McVay and company are going to want redemption for the Super Bowl that they only scored 3 points in the last time they were there. I think that Stafford is making his first Super Bowl appearance. He's either going to get the jitters, which I don't think, because Matt Stafford is... I mean, he's not been a great legacy quarterback in the league, but he is a really professional leader of the team. You can hear that from anybody that played with him in Detroit, and he's gotten this team on point all year to make it to where they are. I think that the Rams are going to kick the crap out of the Bengals, and Joe Burrow is going to play well. I think he's going to get sacked a couple times. I think he's going to throw a pick, player prop, Joe Burrow pick. Mark that. I'm telling you that's going to hit. And
what are the odds? Like 1 something?
All right, so Joe Burrow, I want to say the prop you get off, I'm over in Tiverton, so the prop you get off the Sportsbook Rhode Island is 1.5, and I'm going to take that under, which is like 1.5 units, I think, favorited. But anyway,
half units.
yeah.
Right now, the early spread for the Super Bowl is -4.5 Rams.
Yeah, I'm teasing that, and I'm gonna make it go to like -10, and I'm taking it. I swear to God, I think the Rams are gonna come out there and just dominate.
Yeah, the spread not the over under spread right now is 48.5.
I mean,
Under.
Ever since I got it at under 50, and I was quite polluted.
I like that.
I was quite polluted. Championship Sunday, I put $50 on that.
You gotta hit more. It's Super Bowl Sunday. You got over under 50. That's solid.
I put that on the under at 50. I didn't think it would move down, but it moved down to 48.5. Seriously. Wow.
And the spread's been going up too. It started out at 3.5. It went to 4. Now it's at 4.5.
Comes with the home team,
That's such a huge factor that I don't think people are going to put enough weight into.
That's what I'm thinking too. Because if it's a neutral site, the Rams are probably still -3. You know.
Yeah.
So
at least.
I don't understand how it's still only 4.5. You know.
Yeah, so I mean, looking at this one, I mean, we got a blowout. We got a close one here. It's a tough one. I mean, I'm going to take the Rams regardless, I think, so far for my early pick. They just really have built a team that is meant to come on this stage and just dominate the game. So for me right now, we're going to go into half. We're going to get that good old Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg performance going on. Kendrick Lamar showing up. I love the Super Bowl halftime show this year. I love it. But Bengals fans, you're going to be truly disappointed going into that halftime show because the Rams are going to be leading you 28-10 going into that half and finish the game with a final score of 38-24. That'll be my final as of right now.
That's not the under. No,
that's definitely over.
Yeah, I'm going over on this one.
Nah, your score prediction sucks. Screw you.
Well, sorry, I'm not a gambler, so I don't really care. But regardless, I mean, the Bengals, they brought a lot to the table this year, but that O-line has way too many question marks for me to even be confident that Joe Burrow is going to sit in the pocket or scramble around, which he hardly does as it is, except in what we saw last week, him have to do a few times. But he's going to be under duress constantly. The front seven is going to give him hardly any time to breathe. And then for that Rams offensive unit, you got a Triple Crown winner there. Odell Beckham and Cooper Kupp each got 100 yards receiving last week. And Cooper Kupp has proven that even going into the postseason, he's not stopping. He really is not stopping that production he's brought up. So the Bengals are going to have to do a lot, I stress that, to shadow him because double coverage won't really do too much because you still got Van Jefferson, who's pretty good. Tyler Higbee's still questionable going into this game. I don't know if he'll play just yet. That's something to keep an eye out looking forward. But even the guy that they brought in, I forget his name, that tight end that they brought in, he came up in huge moments for them, for Stafford.
His name is.
Yeah, Brenton.
Yeah, he had the first touchdown that Bucs game.
Yeah. He showed in that divisional round game and in this conference championship game that he can be a solid tight end too for Stafford to check it down to if he has no one else to go to. He had a nice block that he broke out of and caught a pass from Stafford that really set them up for a good first down.
Yeah, that was in the fourth quarter, I think.
Yeah.
Set things up even better.
I just think Sean McVay just has the perfect squad to go in and dominate. Kansas City Chiefs, it would definitely be a lot closer than this, but we're looking at a Cinderella team that's really come up from the woodworks. But regardless, this will show that Joe Burrow is here to stay, that in his second year, he made it this far, and he nearly got that title that Cincinnati so longed for.
Can I say something about Joe Burrow? I think that we are hyping him up a little bit more than we should be. He had one of the greatest college football seasons ever, and then he went to the Bengals. He didn't even play his full rookie season. People can say, and you can make the argument, that this is still his rookie season. He only played like 5 or 6 games last year. But he is borderline elite.
Also like 25 years old. He's old too.
But he's throwing like 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick every game. That's solid, but that's not crazy numbers. I think that this is a superstar in the making, and thus the media is blowing his personality up as they should.
Mm-hmm.
But, he's going to be great, and he's going to be a pretty good quarterback for his career. But I think we're kind of jumping the gun on him just a little bit. I think that he has maybe the best wide receiver trio in the NFL right now with T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Tyler Boyd. And then you got C.J. Uzomah, who's been playing out of his mind. You have two... Oh, no, I guess you really just have Joe Mixon. Like, he has an amazing offense behind him besides
unless you want to give a lot of credit to Samaje P. Ryan.
Well, he did get the screen pass last week. That was pretty good. But
yeah, but it was pretty good.
Joe Burrow's really good, but when he makes his first Super Bowl appearance in Los Angeles against a team that's been there before and is hungry to win it,
and
Joe Burrow might not have a great game. He's gonna be good, but he's gonna be, like you said, under duress. He's gonna be, for lack of better words, crapping his pants. I think half the game, and I want to see him win. I love the Joe Shiesty memes. I think it's awesome. I think that he's going to be a character and someone I'm going to root for a while, but I think that his real legacy begins next year. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, hopefully he's not like Marino, where he makes Super Bowl second year and never makes it again.
Right.
But
like Aaron Rodgers, he started, I think it was his first or his second year starting. Granted, he won.
Yeah, it was his third year.
Was it his third year? No shit.
Yeah, because he was the backup a little bit for Brett Favre.
Yeah.
It was his sixth year. It was his sixth year in the league. But
did you guys know that when Brett Favre left and Aaron Rodgers became the starter, Aaron Rodgers was getting death threats from Packers fans?
Oh, I'm sure he was.
Yeah,
I saw that in the Americas game.
Yeah, that's pretty awful. Like, Jesus Christ.
I'll break your legs. I'll break your arms. It's like, dude, chill. He's better than Brett Favre ever was.
But yeah, regardless, that's our Super Bowl preview right now. As of next week, we'll get more in depth into that Super Bowl talk. Definitely, we'll have more to say about what that's going to build up to be, especially since we have this week off and it's the Pro Bowl, but nobody cares about the Pro Bowl, really.
Yeah, you guys don't want to talk about the Pro Bowl? What's up?
Mac Jones made the Pro Bowl. Okay, that was pretty cool.
The two-hand touch game?
Yeah, the two-hand touch game.
I stole that from Matt Jolis. I gotta be honest.
That's a good one, honestly.
That's one of those good Matt Jolis lines.
Yeah,
it is.
But another top headline to talk about going into this week is obviously Tom Brady stepping down officially. There was a lot that circulated the week before saying, "Oh, he retired," and everybody's posting about it. And then he's like, "Hold up, I didn't say anything just yet." We finally got that response. Tom Brady, after 22 seasons, calls it quits, decides to hang up the pads and the cleats, and calls it a career. A guy who Tim and I have grown up, looked at this guy as our, without a doubt, sports idol from in and out, and winning 6 Super Bowls in New England, winning his 7th in Tampa Bay. He's now a 7-time Super Bowl champion, 5-time Super Bowl MVP, 3-time NFL MVP, and with a smashing amount of records, not just in the regular season, but in the postseason. Likely to be regarded as the greatest quarterback of all time, will without a doubt be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And what a career it's been.
He's like a fringe Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he's on there. He's teetering a little bit, That division round loss. I don't know about that.
Though, I mean, this is the greatest football player to ever live. Now, me and Chet, we've spent a lot of, in my days podcast, we spent a lot of these moments just like, blowing Tom. Just talking about his greatness. Yeah, he's greatness.
Oh,
but I'm
my God, Tom.
I'm glad he retired. Not because I'm not going to miss watching him play, but just because, when you're 45 years old and you have, teenage kids, there's got to be a point where you got to put your focus to your family.
Yeah.
And being a dad is really important, man. And if someone who's lost their dad, dude, I mean, I really wish he spent more time. So I think Tom Brady being 45 years old and playing football, dude, I mean, I really just think you have nothing else to prove. You played 22 years in the league. You've won 7 Super Bowls. You have a family. You have a wife who's been kind of belligerent with you in the past for playing too much football the last few years. So, I mean, Tom, you're a winner, man. We all love you. You're going to make hella Chet anyways. And he had nothing else to prove. I mean, like you said, 3 MVPs, 7 Super Bowls, most Pro Bowls ever with 15, I think, selections.
15.
16. I mean, like, I read that yesterday. It's crazy. So
tied with Otto Graham for the most NFL championships of all time.
Oh, there's
7.
a real legend. Otto Graham.
Yeah.
Bow down.
Yeah. Sit down, Brady.
I think Brady just started. I think he just put life in different perspectives, and I think a lot of it was with Kobe Bryant dying too. You know, only lived a few years after his retirement. Mm-hmm. He played for a long time until he was like 37, 38. Yeah. So, you know, at some point you got to hang it up, and you know, good for Brady. You know, phenomenal player, the best to ever do it. Fuck him for not shouting out the passes and
he did though. Everybody gave him so much crap for not shouting him out. It just took him like an extra 12 hours, and then he said something. People jumped the gun so quick.
And the thing is we got that goodbye already. That's something I thought about, because I was like, why didn't he say anything about the Patriots, I noticed? And then, like, I kind of thought about it for a bit, and I was like, well, hold on. He did already get his goodbyes out when he left New England. Yeah. Like, I honestly was sad reading it out loud to myself, a little choked up. But, I mean...
I was happy.
Yeah, no, that's what I was get to.
So
dude, I love that meme that's circulating right now where it's SpongeBob talking to Squidward, and Squidward's going, boo, hoo, boo, hoo. That's the league right now. Everybody's, you know, sad. They're not sad. Everybody is relieved to see Tom Brady finally call it.
Yeah.
My favorite meme that's been going around is the Rob Schneider meme about the Buccaneers saying, "Oh no, we suck again." That team is they're gonna be okay, but whoever becomes quarterback there is not gonna be even close to what Brady's putting up over the last couple of years. I'm sorry.
Potentially see Jimmy G there, maybe.
They're gonna need Antonio Brown or something.
If Jimmy G goes to the Bucs, they're a playoff team next year. I think so.
I'll also put $10 on that with you right now.
I will.
I don't think they would with Jimmy G.
Do it right now. Yep. Let's go. We got to bet.
If Jimmy G goes anywhere else, it cancels out. That's the thing. You know.
Put the timestamp for that.
No, just if he's on the Bucs. Just if he's on the Bucs.
The NFC is just so much weaker. It's gonna be so much weaker next year. You know, the last couple of years we see Breeze leave, Brady leave,
Rodgers might leave the NFC.
Russell Wilson might leave the NFC. There's only a few good teams in the NFC. The best team in the NFC now is Los Angeles Rams, assuming Rodgers leaves, and probably Dallas Cowboys.
It could be
49ers.
It could honestly be the AFC becomes what the NFC has been the past few years.
The AFC is going to be so ridiculous next year.
I think
the amount of young quarterbacks
and just better for a while now, though.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, they have been ever since Mahomes got in the league. We're not even talking about the Ravens. I think you mentioned it a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Like Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are star-studded. That whole roster is pretty built. Besides, like the wide receivers that they could use one more guy, and
they're
plus
going to
they're all
get
young
someone
anyway.
this year too, probably in the draft in the first round.
Well, they just took Rashad Bateman last year, who's been injured all year, and when he came back, was pretty solid. So the Ravens are going to be back. We know the Bills, Chiefs, and Bengals are solid. The Patriots are going to be even better with Mac Jones.
Yeah.
The Colts got to figure something out. Wherever Aaron Rodgers goes, he's going to be really good, whether it be the Broncos. I like the Steelers for him. I think that wherever he goes is going to be good, but the AFC is dangerous.
The AFC North would be crazy if Aaron Rodgers went to Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, and then like that would probably keep Juju Smith-Schuster there for at least another year or two, because he's talking about jumping ship from that team.
Rodgers is one of those guys I was talking about. Whatever team he goes to, they're going to be way better. So
yeah.
Don't forget Devontae Adams might follow him wherever he goes too.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. Like that's another huge factor. Adams is probably going to go wherever the fuck he goes. Wherever he goes. Sorry, I've dropped too many this show, man. My bad.
Yeah.
Usually I would never do. I don't know what's up with me today.
Put $10 in the swear jar. That's what you get. That's your punishment.
It was probably like 5 or 6.
Oh 8. Wow! Yeah,
I'll just put
$60, bro. Wow.
I'll just.
Hey guys, I know you guys are wrapping up. I gotta head out of here though. I will check out your show next week, hopefully, and hope everybody enjoys the Pro Bowl. I guess.
I guess so. Zach Drapo, ladies and gentlemen, check out his MMA podcast every Thursday at 7. We'll catch you later, Zach. All right, so kind of final thoughts on Tom Brady retiring. It really kind of comes down to the nostalgia. I was at the game. I was at the 2016 AFC divisional round game between the Baltimore Ravens and the New England Patriots. I saw Tom Brady make 14, going down 14 twice and still coming back and beating them, only to have them go to the Super Bowl and defeat the Seattle Seahawks and be the first Super Bowl I ever saw the Patriots win. I remember seeing the Malcolm Butler interception and running around my house, screaming my head off. I remember them taking down the Atlanta Falcons. Luckily, my brother wasn't there. It was just me, my dad, and two of my buddies. Yeah, he was at your house. Yeah, and he was pissed.
He was still rooting with us, though, because he was wearing the Gronk jersey over his Falcons shirt.
Yeah. He was pissed. He came home upset. He was very unhappy. But I just remember hugging my dad, hugging my friends. I remember seeing them go to the Super Bowl again and defeating the Chiefs in overtime with the same group of people in my living room and just hugging all of them. It's just these big moments. Tom Brady for New England brought people together, gave them something to be happy and root for in their lives. And Tom Brady is really what made me the person I am today, partially. The leader, the person who wants to take that next step to better themselves and constantly keep the work ethic going, because that's all he showed every day in every season, in every game he played, was his knowledge just grew as the years went on. Even like you could see the transition from his weight loss from when he got drafted into the league until now. He looks younger now than he did back then.
Yeah.
And it really
stopped drinking beers, he's just so disciplined. He really is the most disciplined athlete probably ever.
Yeah.
And was able to play at such a high level for so long, and he's just taught so many great lessons. Like you were saying, Chet, the thing you said, having the same people in your house for each moment just hit so close to home, because that's it. I remember watching Super Bowl 49, 51, 52, 53, all the same group of guys. Even the playoff games, even the ones that they lost, I remember very vividly. Both those AFC champs against Denver, both those that game against Philly, game against Baltimore, Deflategate, man. The game against Jacksonville in the AFC Championship. There's so many countless games. This guy's such an all-time, such a legend, playing so many big games, huge moments. And I'm gonna remember these games and where I was for all of them the rest of my life, because football. He really is the reason I fell in love with the game of football. So
absolutely,
why me and you do this. So think about we probably wouldn't have liked it as much if we lived in Jacksonville or Cleveland or but we had the privilege.
I definitely wouldn't have
watching this man play for decades.
I have to agree. It definitely comes down to the fact that Tom Brady is the reason why I love football. Tom Brady is the reason why I started this NFL podcast, per se. You could say he's a big reason as to why I'm the person I am today. And I have a lot of thanks to give him because of that. And it's crazy to think about that, standing in Gillette Stadium on that AFC divisional night, when the wind chill made the game feel like, game temperature was like 5 degrees with wind chill. And I was standing in the stands with a full, snow gear, snow pants, jacket, jersey over it, bundled up with hand warmers that didn't activate in my boots. So my feet were frozen until after the game, but I didn't care. I showed up to watch him and the Patriots.
Who'd you go to that game with again? I forget.
My buddy Carl. Him and I went there, dude. We were hugging drunk people up in the nosebleeds. We loved it. It was the best energy. And I'll tell you one thing: if you go to an NFL playoff game, nobody ever sits. It's standing at all times.
I remember being mad jealous you were at that tilt. I was like, damn, I wish I was there. I'm like, Chet just witnessed. When they were losing, I wasn't that jealous, but when they won, I was like, damn, Chet just witnessed that tilt. That's probably my. It's definitely in the top 3 non-Super Bowl playoff games I've seen from the Pats of the Brady era. I'd probably put that up with the Jacksonville game, and probably, probably those are probably my 2, and the Chiefs game, the Chiefs game 2018. Those are probably my 3 favorite non-Super Bowl games from Brady. And you were at my second favorite one. So
yeah. It was a great game, I'll tell you that. But
especially considering the Pats had just lost to the Ravens in the AFC Championship 2 years before that. So
there was a lot of hype.
It was such a revenge game too.
Yeah.
They had to win it. Number 1 seed that year, could not afford to lose that game because it would have been Ravens Colts for the Super Bowl. The Ravens probably would have played Seattle.
Yeah, potentially. But a big thank you to Tom Brady, especially from us New England fans. You brought a lot to the table, and you showed us why football is such a great sport and why putting in the work, putting in the time and the effort constantly is what only makes you better. Because when Brady was drafted in the 6th round, nobody wanted to take a chance on this guy. He was slow, couldn't really get the ball off like most quarterbacks could, but he proved with time and discipline and work, you can achieve whatever you put your mind to. And a big thank you, Tom Brady, from the Patriots family, from and the NFL itself. A big thank you, and we wish you the best in the years of retirement to come. So, moving on to the next one, there's been some controversy into the league this season, and it came from head coach Brian Flores, who has sued several teams in his interview process, claiming it was, for alleged racism and hiring head coaches. But one of the biggest points of this controversy was the Miami Dolphins owner bribing him $100,000 a game to lose when this team went 1-7, and then was mad when they managed to go on a 7-game win streak.
No, it's just from 2019 when they were taking it for 2. Remember that 2 years ago when they had Fitzmagic? Listen, I'm just a terrible look for the Miami Dolphins organization. First of all, everyone's saying that Stephen Ross, Dolphins owner, is a joke, or Dolphins fans have been saying that for years, I guess. But at the end of the day, I think Brian Flores had some really good points in his case. He has this. He has, John Elway and the Broncos showing up drunk for his interview a couple of years ago. And
it's a little weird.
And he had what was it? It was New York Giants, that Bill Belichick screenshot, very incriminating right there. So I think Flores is honestly a hero for this. I wouldn't say hero because nothing's really happened out of it yet, but he's definitely you could say a hero too, because he's taken a stand against what appears to be years and decades worth of systemic racism in the National Football League. And I'm glad what he's doing. I think these are really important issues, especially being paid to lose. And I think that's probably the worst out of all of it, because the same thing happened with Hugh Jackson in Cleveland when they won 1 game in 31 years. Or 1 game in 2 years. They went 1-31 in 2 years.
31. I was going to say, excuse me.
They offered him
0-16.
I guess they offered him $50K a game to lose too. So, it looks bad because you're kind of just saying these black coaches to be scapegoats for your team's rebuild, just so you can fire them and hire somebody else to lead your organization. So, maybe that happens with a lot of white coaches too. No one's really speaking out yet, but it's just not a good look for the Dolphins. And I'm glad Brian Flores is taking a stand against the league right here.
No, and I mean, when you look at the way things are in the league right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers have the only African-American coach as of right now, Mike Tomlin, as their head coach. Rest of the league, I mean, at least the 5 teams that he interviewed with, all ended up the spots getting filled up by people who are white, which obviously, the whole race argument here always gets me a little, on edge. You don't want to say the wrong thing and all that. But obviously, with things like the Denver Broncos owners and John Elway coming into the meeting drunk, like, come on, man. You can't have that going on there. This is a professional interview. This is something you can't do. For the Miami Dolphins, you shouldn't be rewarding people for doing a shit job. That's not the way this works. Like, what? I understand incentives. Like, hey, I will pay you $100,000 if you get, or $1 million if you throw for 40 touchdown passes. Hey, I'm for it. But to lose? Like, hey, Ryan Fitzpatrick, if you throw 15 picks this year, I will pay you $1 million. Like, what? How does this better anybody? How does this better your team, your organization? Like, I understand, hey, you're doing it on purpose so you can get a better draft pick. Hey, I get that. You want a better player, but it's like one player is not going to solve your problem, man. Because then ensuing a $100,000 a game to lose ensues a losing culture. And that's what this Miami Dolphins unit has been for years. Losing.
They haven't won a playoff game since I was a month old. And I am 21 right now.
It's like it speaks for itself. That point right there. Unbelievable. That text from Bill Belichick, I saw that, and that was very strange for him to say, hey, you got the job, and then being like, whoops, sorry, you didn't get it.
Whoops, I fucked up. Sorry, I suck with technology. Like, dude, come on. Maybe that was planned, though. That would be sneaky if they planned that.
Did that Bill give him the news? Yeah. But it's like,
there's no way that was planned.
Looking at Brian Flores, he does have a legitimate case with these points. To say it's, based on race, I mean, I don't know. But the points that he's making in terms of the team's kind of like, one, showing up to an interview drunk, having somebody else tell you didn't get the job instead of like before the organization even reaches out to you, that's really weird.
Or they interviewed him.
Yeah, before that.
And then interviewed with him, and they already had their mindset so they could pass the Rooney Rule, Yeah. Shame.
And then same thing with the Dolphins, paying him to lose games. And then when the team does good, decides to just say goodbye. That to me makes absolutely no sense. Brian Flores was a great defensive coordinator in New England, goes to the Miami Dolphins, and hey, as much as I hate the Dolphins, he did a really good job with that team. And for me to
That's the best 2-year stretch they've had in years.
And then
sense.
It makes me question if this organization really wants to win at all. And now people are calling for the Dolphins owner's head to really say, hey, he does not deserve to own a team in this league and that the NFL should force him out. There's a lot of question marks here. But I mean, Brian Flores, I'm going to have to side with him after reading into it more often now and seeing all the fine lines. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, he's kind of getting the short end of the stick here. He does not want, he's basically proving right now, he doesn't want to be an OC, a DC. He doesn't want to even be the assistant coach for anything. He doesn't want to be a wide receiver coach. He wants to run a team. And he proved to me in Miami that he deserved to run a team. And to see all these head coaches getting named and not him, I'm kind of scratching my head here.
He's the best Belichick product that we've seen in so long. I mean, McDaniels sucked. Eric Mangini sucked as a head coach. Joe Judge sucked as a head coach.
What's his face?
Bill O'Brien sucked as a head coach.
Yep.
I mean, Bill O'Brien had a couple good years, but he also had really good players, though.
Yeah.
I mean, Brian Flores turned a team that was in 2018, probably the time that he got the new team in 2019, he already had lost Tannehill, lost a lot of their already good players. They were the worst roster in the league. If you remember Week 1, 2019, they were projected to go by a lot of people like 1-15, 2-14. Yeah. They go 5-11. They ruined the Patriots' season, getting a first round bye in the last week of the season, and then the last 2 years, 10-6 and 9-8. And you just fire this guy, and it's like, obviously, it wasn't just because of his performance, because they had rift in the organization, too. That's probably why he got fired in retrospect. Like, he was a bad coach. But at the end of the day, this guy can coach a football team, and he deserves a job somewhere. And it's a shame the league is giving guys like Josh McDaniels, Mr. 3rd and 15 screen pass to Brandon Bolden, head coaching jobs in the league.
Yeah.
Raiders are going to be ass next year, by the way. They're going to suck.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't believe McDaniels.
And honestly, I don't understand why the Raiders didn't take the intern coach and just made him the head coach.
I don't understand. Like,
even the players were disappointed by the move.
We saw Josh McDaniels burn out in Denver. We saw him flake on the Indianapolis Colts 3 years ago, and now he's getting a job again. Bring it back to race. If he was black doing that, I don't think he'd even be in the league anymore. I think he'd be in college, but because he was with Belichick, it's different. And he was with Tom Brady, makes him look good. Josh McDaniels is not a good offensive coordinator. He has not been for a while. Okay.
Yeah. And this story will definitely continue to circulate, and we'll give you more details as time goes on, because this is definitely going to be something that we'll keep track of and definitely keep discussing as more information comes out, because something needs to happen, because this is kind of a big problem if this is happening, not only just to Brian Flores, but many coaches of color who are trying to get jobs in this league. And it's definitely unfortunate that it has to be this way. But he's taking the step to make a change, and that's huge. That's something that the league really needs, is more inclusiveness at the head coaching position. So that ends our talk on Brian Flores. Like we said, we'll keep you updated. A couple more topics to talk about. We're going to start off with the Washington football team.
The other topic we have.
The other topic we were going to talk about Jimmy G real quick. Talk about his potential destinations.
Just go through this. I'm tired.
Yeah, I got you. So for Washington, the football team decided to become the Washington Commanders.
I don't have a pick, so COVID.
Yeah, and honestly, I've got to say, look, we got the Cleveland Indians got changed to the Cleveland Guardians, and now you got the Washington Redskins getting changed to the Commanders.
See,
what kind of a mascot is that? What does it look like?
Both those team names suck. They could have done way better. I think Washington should have kept WFT, honestly. I mean, but honestly, dude, have you seen the Washington jerseys? They're fire. They are gross.
They're bad or really good?
Some slick jerseys. Their new jerseys I think they're really nice. They have a black one, dude, and it's fire.
Get a picture of it and put it in the show.
I'm still on my phone, dude. I'm sorry.
Then never mind. But
go on Instagram afterwards and look at it, dude. They have some really slick uniforms.
But I mean, so the thing is I understand the name changes because they're controversial as it is, but Commanders, what is a commander? That's so vague in general. It's what does that look like? What does that look like? What? They were talking about becoming the Red Tails. That sounds cooler than Commanders.
They should have picked the Armada. That was fire.
Anything. I mean,
I
can't think of a Washington Commander. I don't know. They should have just.
They could have been presidents, but they would have. See, with a lot of these names, they would have had to change their colors too. The presidents probably had to change their colors.
Yeah.
I feel like with Commanders, it's kind of like a neutral, stupid name, kind of like Guardians too. What the fuck does that even mean? Speaking of Washington, let's see your hoodie real quick. Just give me a quick stand-up check. Come on, let's see it. There we go. That's the new Commanders, baby. Yeah. New Commanders logo right there. He's already copped.
Oh yeah.
But L organization, L name, but uniforms looking nice. But Washington, hey, going back to what I said earlier, this NFC is getting a lot weaker. Team that made the playoffs years ago, still have a lot of talent on defense. I think they're a quarterback away from having good offense.
Just got it.
There you go. At the end of the day, they haven't had a good quarterback in a long time, since Kirk Cousins. So if they get a good quarterback in the draft this year and they develop him, I think the Commanders can make their first playoff appearance in the next couple of years, especially with how weak the NFC is now, or how it might be very weak. And especially their division. Their division is awful. Awful division.
100%. 100%.
They're probably I would say second best team in the division, but the Eagles just made the playoffs. But Eagles just didn't beat anyone good all year.
But this could be a team.
A couple solid wins.
This could be a team to keep an eye out on, because they could be a potential destination for Jimmy Garoppolo. Hey, it wouldn't be a bad fit. Honestly, you got a good defensive unit.
Is this a segue to Garoppolo?
Yeah, I say we hop right into it and talk about some Jimmy G, because honestly, so looking at the news this week, ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Garoppolo, it's been apparent his time in San Francisco is coming to an end. The team did inform him they were going to make a trade, but his one request was to be on a team that is competitive. And for a guy like Jimmy G, I got to say, I've seen his career start in New England and go to where it's been so far. And I get so upset, dude. Honestly, I really do. That people really go out of their way to just take a crap on this guy's career, because honestly, it's not that bad. it really isn't bad. Like, hearing people say painfully average, get out of here. Like, come on.
Yeah. I
Come
mean, when he's
on.
been on the field, he's been great. We saw him his first year in San Fran. He took over a 1-10 team or 1-11 team. They won 1-10 team. They won their last 5 games with him starting. Next year, he gets injured in week 3. Year after that, he makes the Super Bowl. Last year's hurt all year. This year makes the NFC Championship. And in relief for Brady, won his first 2 starts. And this guy's won wherever he's been. He's a game manager, like Zach was saying earlier. Maybe it was you, actually. I don't really know. But
well, he is. That's what he is.
I just think that I think the system he was in also with the Niners, they were obviously a run-first offense every year he played there with Shanahan as the head coach. And I just don't think Shanahan trusted him that much, the ball in his hands late in the game. And I'm not saying he's deserving of all the trust, all the chops yet, because he hasn't proved it all the time. He hasn't proved his last 2 playoff losses. But listen, he's a very serviceable quarterback. I think he's in the top half of the league for quarterbacks, I think, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I think if he goes to Tampa next year, they're a playoff team, like I said earlier. I think he's going to stay in the NFC, though. I think that's the big thing. I think he's going to stay in the conference because I think that's where most of the quarterback-hungry teams are looking at right now.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see where he goes because say he goes to, a non-competitor, say like a brink team like Washington or like Chicago, but he's not going to Chicago. They just got Justin Fields, but that was just an example.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how he does on a team that's really not that good because when he got to the Niners at first, they really weren't that good.
No.
Shanahan was a great coach, but they weren't a good team.
Yeah.
And he made them a lot better. People forget that team was 1-10 before he started.
Yeah.
2017.
They were struggling.
They were struggling with C.J. Beathard and whoever it was.
Blaine Gabbert.
Maybe Gabbert was.
Yeah, it was Gabbert.
He was on the team, I think. Yeah,
he was their starter for a while.
Yeah, I think he started that year actually. Gabbert. Wow. But I mean, I'm excited to see where he goes, and I'm excited to see if he does better than Trey Lance and the Niners do next year.
Yeah. 2 more questions about about this whole thing. First question being, what do you think the Niners are going to be expecting in compensation for this trade?
That's a good question. We saw Jimmy get traded for a 2 a few years ago. But now he's entering the last year of his deal of that 5-year mammoth contract he signed in 2017 or 2018. So honestly, I think we're probably expecting a 2, maybe a
second round pick,
maybe a pair of them.
I'm thinking either 2 third-round picks or maybe a second and a third.
Maybe because Wentz last year was traded for a second and a third, right?
Yeah.
And I think they're comparable for what their values are. I think it's kind of even compared to where Jimmy is this year to where Carson Wentz was last year, coming off the worst year of his career. But we saw Carson Wentz ball the previous 3 years.
Yeah.
And Jimmy, on the other hand, we've seen him ball whenever he's been on the field, but when he's not on the field, he's just injured.
Yeah.
He's kind of plasticky. So I think that's reasonable. A 2 and a 3, maybe. Something like the Carson Wentz deal last year.
Yeah.
It depends who they're going to trade him to also, So there's also
that comes up with my next question. The teams that are interested and need a quarterback, Pittsburgh, Washington, Denver, Carolina, New Orleans, Houston, and Tampa Bay, but also the Minnesota Vikings, Las Vegas Raiders, and the Indianapolis Colts could all make a case for a new change at the quarterback position. Out of the teams I just named there, Duffy, where do you think's the likely spot?
Tampa. I think that's the move.
Tampa.
I think Rodgers is going to Denver. Russ Wilson's going to Pittsburgh. If he gets traded, I don't think he's really going to get traded. I think he's going to stay in Seattle for the most part. But I think Rodgers to Denver and Jimmy G to Tampa. I think I don't know who said this earlier this week, but it's just in Jimmy G's cards to replace Tom Brady.
Yeah.
He's just destined to do it. And that's just how I feel. I don't know, but I think they're gonna pull something here because there's really not any better options going to get at quarterback at this point than Jimmy G. Because I don't think Rodgers is going to want to go to Tampa. I don't think that's realistic for the NFC. I don't think they're not going to trade Rodgers in conference. I don't see that happening at all. So But Jimmy G's not like Rodgers. He's not like that. They can do that. So
Yeah.
I think Tampa Bay or maybe Carolina too. That's another really interesting thing because they've had quarterback issues for a while now. Sam Darnold's clearly not the answer. Jimmy G would be a much better option. But you know, that's I think Tampa Bay is the most likely team.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree and say Tampa Bay as well. I think the Buccaneers are just in a good position where Garoppolo could really walk into a weak division and really turn this team, or well, not turn this team around because this team's already successful.
Keep them competitive.
Keep them afloat, you keep them competitive. Keep them in the mix for that AFC South title and even for a playoff push. I think he definitely has a good spot there. I think the Broncos will get him if the deal doesn't work out with Aaron Rodgers and he ends up signing with like Pittsburgh or New Orleans in that case. But for Jimmy G, I think the most obvious spot has to be the Buccaneers. I mean, you've got Mike Evans there. Chris Godwin will be coming back next season. You still got Leonard Fournette. You still got a solid defense on your back. They've just got what it takes to really make a push with a player like him.
It's a very talented roster still on both sides of the ball. You know, don't even forget, without Tom Brady, this team that last year returned 22 Super Bowl players who started in that game. So I think the Bucs I think they're going to be a good organization in the upcoming years. Hopefully Chris Godwin can come back if Jimmy G still is playing. And if Jimmy G goes to Tampa Bay, because Chris Godwin, I believe, is a free agent this offseason, coming off the torn ACL. But I think the Bucs, if they get Jimmy G, I think they'll probably be the favorite for the NFC South. I think if Sean Payton was still in New Orleans, I think it'd be a different story. But the NFC South right now is so many question marks. You know, Sean Payton leaving, Tom Brady leaving, probably the two biggest X factors in the division prior to both those pieces of news.
Yeah.
I think if a team in that division wants to get a one up, I think a team like Tampa Bay or maybe Carolina should make a move for this guy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's going to do it, ladies and gentlemen, for this week's episode of Unapologetic with Chet and Duffy. And, I mean, looking into the Super Bowl right now, Duffy and I on the playoff matchup, we're both 6-6. So whoever wins this one will win the postseason basically picks for these games. So stay tuned for that. We will have an official pick for you next week. But until then, this is Chet and Duffy signing off. Have yourselves a great rest of your week, a wonderful weekend, and then be sure to check out Fans Only Sports Network's live stream, Rhode Island High School hockey, because we're going to be covering a lot of that this weekend. Tim's going to be at URI. I will be covering Mount St. Charles, I believe, and a couple other teams that will be playing this weekend. So until then, we'll check you all out next time. This has been Unapologetic with Chet and Duffy. Stay safe, everyone, and as always, go Pats.
Go Pats. Oh, man.